Now we start with the Middle East. Qatar, one of the central mediators in the Hamas-Israel war, is condemning a new wave of Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip, warning they could destabilize the fragile truce that has held for several weeks. In a statement, Qatar's foreign ministry has called the strikes brutal attacks and a dangerous escalation, saying they threaten to undermine the ceasefire agreement that Doha has been working to sustain. The condemnation comes after a Gaza hospital reported 4 people killed in fresh strikes earlier today. This follows that what officials say was one of the deadliest days since the truce began on October 10th, with Gaza's Civil Defense Agency reporting 27 deaths on Wednesday alone. Israel and Hamas continue to accuse each other of violating the ceasefire, with Israel insisting its strikes are targeting Hamas positions, while Gaza's health ministry says more than 312 Palestinians have been killed during the truce period. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mark Sutherland. He's a geopolitical commentator, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us again. Good to see you. Mark, what do you think, what are the challenges that mediators like Qatar are facing when a truce appears to be faltering so often? How much influence can external actors realistically exert on the behavior of Israel and Hamas right now?
Asuma, good to be with you again. Well, let's just put the cards on the table. One of the things that Qatar can stop doing is to actually oversee the funding of Hamas, as the leadership were there of Hamas for a number of years, living high on the hog in some very expensive hotels, before people turn around and go, "Oh, you're making that up." Well, people go and do the research and the history of that. They played it both sides. You have used a very interesting term when you've said like a ceasefire. Yes, this is a ceasefire. What happens is part of this 20 plan, part of the we've just seen the UN resolution, but the 20-point plan that the Trump administration has put forward is to then see that Hamas will be they will give up all their guns and they will be completely disarmed, and that another group will then another group of nations will then oversee that, and then the governance of Gaza. They have not given up their weapons whatsoever, and true to form, in my humble opinion, they have no intention of doing so. Also, with what is happening with this whole discussion of the yellow line, is that they are pushing back all the time. It's what then the IDF are then finding, whether it's finding rocket launchers, other ammunitions, other military hardware within right up to that yellow line that has been demarcated there, and they are then going to take those out. Hamas need to disarm. That is what is number one there. And Qatar, as I've said, without sounding repetitive, they have spoken out of both sides of their mouth in the regard that, oh yes, we can moderate, we want a peace deal, but at the same time being funded this, as they have funded many things around the world in regard to into universities, and then pushing all the marches that have then happened over the last 2 years in regard to the rhetoric that we have seen in capital cities all over the world. Asuma.
Yes, and Mark, what do you think? As you rightfully mentioned, that demilitarization of Hamas, it looks like it's not even close to demilitarization of Hamas. Why do you think the peace or the peace talks of or pursuing the second phase continues while the demilitarization hasn't happened? Why do you think that some actors mediating have given up on demilitarizing Hamas?
You ask a very, very important question, and the other important question to ask everyone or to lay out on the table, it's how we view people. We view a Middle Eastern mindset from a Western point of view, and we then put that within our values and think, oh, if you negotiate, people are going, oh yes, we will do this, but within the Middle East, but they won't. It comes down to strength, and Hamas as you and I just agree, have no intention, in my humble opinion, of then putting down their weapons. With then Israel has got huge issues again, and I stood on both borders recently in regard to the south and the north. But if you then go to Lebanon, and the Hezbollah are then rearming. There are huge issues again. So people may say one thing, and then their actions will do another, and the only thing that they will respond to is strength, and that is what Israel is then showing. We've asked you to do this, you're not, so we will then take actions against you, and that is down in Gaza, and that will also be with Hezbollah as well. And all of this just has to be honestly said, and has to be unpacked constantly as a reminder. And this sadly is where we're at. At the end of the day, you only have to read the Hamas charter, and then within the charter it talks about the complete annihilation of Israel, which is the Jewish homeland. That is where we're at. Asuma.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we stay on this topic now. Hamas is accusing Israel of violating the current ceasefire by pushing military positions beyond